Leslie of Life Holistically. Today I'm here to talk to you all about diffusing essential oils. I made this announcement yesterday on my business page, and there's been a lot of excitement, a lot of messages asking when it's going to go live. So today is February 26th, and I'm raring to go. So today I'm going to cover a few important areas of diffusion and kind of why we talk about safety in regards to diffusing. We don't want to diffuse essential oils all day long, and there are a few reasons why. After this video is posted live, there will be some references listed down in the comments, so you can do further research if you choose to do so. So I'm going to cover what's termed habituation, which is also olfactory adaption in aromatherapy. I'm going to talk about the stages of our sense of smell very briefly and how quickly we go through them in its relation to what's termed olfactory bulb saturation. I'm going to talk about safe diffusion times very briefly, possible risk of overuse, right? So I will talk about what the risks are if we are diffusing essential oils for too long or in too closed of a space or things like that. And then lastly, I just have a couple diffusers that I'm going to show you today. Okay. So in regards to habituation, what exactly does that mean? I like to use an example of if you were to go into a room or be into a room where somebody came in and say they were wearing too much perfume, maybe they just were outside smoking a cigar or a cigarette, like that smell might be like a wall in your face, overwhelming, holy moly, right? Okay, so let's assume that this smell was just simply overwhelming. It didn't give you an instant headache. It didn't make you nauseous or anything too extreme, but to you at the moment, it was you wanted to get away, okay? But let's say you couldn't. So you're in the room with this individual, listening to somebody speak or having a conversation. Your mind's kind of not on it. Maybe 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, something like that, you may have thought to yourself, I don't smell it anymore. That's kind of odd. I've had this phenomenon also happen where people have come into the group that I admin. It's called Real Essential Oil Education for anybody that wants to go in and join, where they have said, so hey, I put grapefruit essential oil or lavender essential oil in my diffuser, and after like 15 or 20 minutes, I don't smell it anymore. Am I just not using strong enough essential oils? Am I just not using enough drops? Usually it's neither one of those. Usually it's habituation or olfactory adaption. It's your body kind of getting used to it, so you're not smelling it anymore, okay? So moving on to our stages of smell, okay? So there's 5 stages of our smell. They are to detect, transmit, perceive, analyze, and store. Okay, and it goes through these stages, our sense of smell, incredibly fast. That's why our limbic system is so affected by essential oils so quickly, right? We could sit with our favorite bottle of oil. Mine would be lavender for calming, and I feel it pretty quickly. And I can also grab a bottle of essential oil if I'm going to celebrate something or memorialize something, let's say, something good, and I can sit with that bottle and inhale it multiple times. And then on another time when I'm feeling kind of stressed, I could sit and smell that bottle and kind of be brought back to those good feelings, right? So that's our stored memories from our senses and our sense of smell. It's an amazing thing. It's kind of cool. So we're talking about these stages of smell when it comes to olfactory bulb saturation. So what exactly does that mean, right? We have 2 olfactory bulbs that store our sense of smell, store our smells, okay? And because we're going through these stages of our sense of smell so incredibly quickly, the bulbs get saturated, for lack of a better word, pretty quickly, okay? So that's going to tie into olfactory adaption and habituation as well, kind of showing that we don't really need to diffuse essential oils all that long to get benefit, okay? So when we're looking at diffusion times, okay, recommended diffusion times, I tend to start with what Robert Tisserand recommends, And that's, he says, 30 to 60 minutes of diffusion typically before you take a good hour break, okay? Before you're turning that diffuser back on. It's kind of letting the room air out, although these molecules will remain in the air for some time after you turn the diffuser off. Now, because I like to focus on essential oil safety for kids and for babies, I think even 30 minutes can be a little bit aggressive for kids, and I don't think always necessary. So for young children, let's say toddlers, young children, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15 to 20 minutes is likely going to be sufficient for them. And then again, your hour break. If you're going to be diffusing for a baby, if it's truly needed, okay, I have to add, if it's truly needed, 10 minutes is likely all they're going to need. I wouldn't go much higher than that for them, okay? So I'll take Robert Tisserand's recommendations and just be a little bit more conservative with it because I believe that that's truly all that's needed. Now, we also need to keep in mind the water reservoir of our diffuser, okay? So if we're putting a lot of water in there, the drops according to the manufacturer's recommendation, okay? If it is, let's say, a nebulizing type diffuser that can accommodate 700 square feet, 1,000 square feet, and you're only diffusing in a really small space, you're not going to need the amount of drops that it states, okay? You could cut that in half or even less than that. And the diffusing times are then going to be adjusted as well. So you want to keep the diffuser that you're using in mind for your space according to the manufacturer's recommendation, okay? What are the risks of overuse, okay? They could be minor. They could be, you have a headache, maybe an upset stomach. There are certain essential oils like cinnamon for me and clove that do give me an upset stomach and even heartburn at times. It can go even more aggressive in symptoms of being really nauseated, having malaise, feeling kind of dizzy and disoriented, okay? So these can be symptoms of diffusing all day long. Now, I know as parents, when your children are sick, you're working to keep them as healthy as you can, okay? You're working to get over the germs quickly. You don't want the rest of the family to get sick. I understand all of those concerns. What I typically do if one child is sick and the other one isn't is when he's not in the room, I'll do what's kind of blast the room or bomb the room or however you want to word it and put a homemade anti-germ blend in their room, and I'll close the door, okay, so nobody's present in the room, and I'll diffuse for the full hour. And then I'll open up the windows, let it air out, and give it a little bit of time before I let anybody else go back in, okay? This is my way of stopping the spread of germs, one of the ways that I use, okay? So now we know risks of overuse. I'm going to very briefly talk about diffusing in public spaces because I think that's kind of a precarious situation. I really don't recommend it. If we're talking about a doctor's office where sick kids are coming in, we really don't know what their sensitivities are. If they're ill on medications, we really don't know what we could be causing, okay, by diffusing in a public space. So I kind of want to recommend you don't do it. One of the biggest things that I'll call it a pet peeve is the newest phenomenon of diffusing essential oils in a classroom, okay? I don't recommend that at all. A teacher's really not going to know true details about those 20 children. And they may know, yes, they're taking a medication. I send them to the office nurse to get that medication. They may know that there's food allergies, okay? So at lunch, they may need to sit at a special table. But I think that if you're diffusing in a classroom of 20 kids, every single parent needs to know. And not only do they need to know, they need to understand what the potential risk is, okay? And just like children need to be able to sit at their own table if they're allergic to peanuts, there has to be aroma-free zones if you're doing it in a school. There's a lot of liability here, not only for the teacher that made the choice, but for the school district. So I think essential oils at this time should be kept out of the classroom until better standards are put in place. If we can get to that point, that I don't think they should be used in that setting, okay? So just very briefly, I have 2 diffusers here. This is one. It is a 400 mil capacity reservoir, and it does have some timers on it. It has a 60-minute, 120-minute, and 180-minute. If I'm going to use this one for my kids, I'll usually turn it on the 60-minute. My kids are 9 and 11. I can diffuse for the full hour, but I typically don't. I'll let it run in their room with the door closed, cats out, and then after about 30 minutes, I'll let them go in, knowing that they're going to lay down to fall asleep, whatever I'm diffusing for, and then after they're in there for 30 minutes, the diffuser is going to turn off. I also use something called an aroma stone. This is what I use in the living room because I have cats. So this isn't actually as strong, nearly as strong as an atomizer, for example. And I usually, again, don't do it when the cats are around, but I feel a little bit safer using an aroma stone because the scent is very, very subtle. Okay, there's not much going into the air with an aroma stone. So those are the two diffusers I really use in the home. I don't really use anything else right now. So I think that about covers everything that I wanted to talk about in regards to diffusing essential oils. Just please know that it's not something that needs to be done all day, or if you're going to lay down at the end of the night, that you have something within at least an hour timer setting. If you're an adult, you don't really need much more than that. Not only is it kind of bombarding our system, but it's a waste of essential oils, and we always have to keep sustainability in mind of these precious oils. So I think that about covers it for today. Thank you for joining me. Until next time. Thanks, guys.